Hey guys, what is up? MIKE31 here. Madden 19, this is part 2 of my NFL preview here on opening week. Got the old DirecTV Sunday ticket going, flipping between a lot of 1 o'clock games. I'm currently watching Jags Giants, watching the Giants attempt a field goal to pull within 13-9, and yeah, that game is pretty much going the way I thought it would go. Or is looking the way I thought both teams would look. The Jags are treating the Giants' offensive line like stepchildren, and Blake is being Blake. Some throws good, some throws bad, but Fournette left the game with a hamstring injury, so that bears watching. Hopefully, that's not something that's long term, but hammies can nag. They can nag. But anyhow, let's go around the league and see or talk about who will do what in each division. As I'm also watching the Pats and the Texans. I mean, just plug and play with the freaking Pats. If there's a 50-50 ball opportunity to Gronk, it's going his way, and he's probably going to come down with it. And they got Philip Dorsett running around out here looking like a legit wide receiver. And they're beating the hell out of the Texans' offensive line. It is one of the worst lines this side of the Giants as well, as I'm picking on the Giants today. But yeah, same song, different verse. So anyhow, let me start out with my JET as Jets, and talk about what my expectations of them are, and hopefully not getting myself too carried away. You know, with the Jets, we have reason for long-term hope. I mean, we don't want to get ourselves, or I don't want to get myself too carried away. I like how Sam Darnold looks so far, based off of what we've seen in the preseason. But once the lights go on for real, you just hope that that carries over. He's going to have some good games. I think he will. He has some games where he looks like a guy who is all of 21 years old and has only started 2 full college football seasons. That's going to happen. But the thing you want to see is just growth and the team forming an identity. And I think they have a chance to do that. I mean, the Jets aren't hopeless. They have, in some areas, better personnel than people think. They have potentially one of the top safety tandems in the league when you look at Marcus May and Josh Adams and what those guys can be. Josh Adams had a really solid rookie year, as did Marcus May. They bring in Trumaine Johnson, who's a solid professional NFL caliber corner. Their front seven's pretty stout. They don't have any edge rush whatsoever. They haven't had any edge rush for ages now. But they do have some stoutness between the tackles. The backs are okay. The line is mediocre. Robbie Anderson is a talented guy. You just hope that he can stay out of prison. Jermaine Kearse, solid pro, and we have a Nunwa coming back from ACL surgery. So it's not a complete barren wasteland of overmatched talent, but it's not world beating either. What you want to see them build towards something, have another good draft with a good offseason where they're going to have boatloads of cap room, get a big player on offense, Le'Veon Bell, Le'Veon Bell, and just continue to build. If they win 7 or 8 games, I'd be ecstatic. And that actually might be good enough to take second in the division, really. I mean, the Pats are going to win the division. We know that. But someone has to come in second. Might as well be them. I mean, how much of a gap is there between them and Buffalo? Buffalo's getting shut out. They're throwing poor Nathan Peterman out there, and he's just getting killed. And the Dolphins, the Dolphins are just the Dolphins. They're okay. They're mediocre. Let's go from the AFC East to the AFC South. I really love the Titans. I think they're one of my 2 picks for most improved teams in the league. They're my AFC most improved team. I think that they finally have a coaching staff that has a clue. And while I think Jacksonville will still be the best team in that division, I think the Titans are going to make some noise. I'm not really sold on the Texans, and the reason why is really health. I mean, you have a quarterback coming off of ACL surgery in Watson, who I think, long term is going to be fine, but it's going to take some time to, get back into the swing of things. And people just think that, J.J. Watt's going to be plugged back in there, and he's going to be the old 20-sack J.J. Watt. We don't know that. J.J. Watt has had some very significant injuries the past couple of years, and I don't think he's ever going to be that player again. I think we've already seen the best of J.J. Watt's days, and while I still think he's going to be a good player, I don't think he's going to be that you know dominant force of nature anymore. I'd be really surprised if he is. Honey Badger, he's also injury prone. Will Fuller's already out a couple of weeks, so that just leaves DeAndre Hopkins out there by himself again, and the line isn't great either. But really, the interesting thing will be how far back is Andrew Luck. I think that could be something that shakes up the order in the division if Luck is all the way back and he can carry that team. But I don't really see anyone unseating the Jags there, at least right now. In the AFC North, really, that's the Steelers' division to lose. It remains to be seen how much the Le'Veon Bell stuff factors into how they perform, whether they're able to replace him. Even though Mr. Connor there looks pretty decent right now. And again, just like I mentioned in part one with my quarterback rankings, what type of days you get out of Big Ben on a week-to-week basis. I mean, he's thrown 3 INTs already. He occasionally just throws out these clunkers now, and you just wonder. Yeah, you just wonder about him sometimes. Defensively, they should be pretty good. They were one of the league leaders in sacks for the season last year. They were top 10 in scoring defense a year ago. It'll be interesting to see how they play over the course of a full season without Ryan Shazier. But they got players there. Artie Burns keeps on getting better. They bring in Joe Hayden. TJ Watt, you figure, will grow more. Stephon Tuitt and all those guys are still there. So they should be solid still once again. I know the Browns are a trendy, feel-good pick to make some noise. Again, I kind of view them similar to the Jets, where you just kind of want to pump your brakes a little bit. If they'll show improvement, they have to. I mean, it's hard not to. They have better talent level than they've had in previous years, obviously. And if they ever win anywhere between 6 to 8 games, they'll have themselves a friggin' party down there. That'd be a really good season for them, considering how things have gone the past few years there. Bengals, I mean, the Bengals are weird. Who knows what you're going to get from them? All you know about the Bengals is that for whatever reason, as long as they're not doing anything worse than 6-10, 7-9, they don't care. Management will keep on extending Marvin Lewis, and they'll have some years where they win, 10 or 11 games and lose in the first round of the playoffs. They'll have some years where they go 7-9, 8-8, and nothing ever changes. That's just the way Cincy rolls. The Ravens, I have no feel for the Ravens whatsoever. I don't follow them very closely. I have no interest in following them any closely. The Ravens are just a bland, lifeless franchise to me right now. I have no clue what to expect from them. You can't really take them bombing Buffalo right now seriously because they're starting Nathan Peterman, as I said, and he can't generate as much as a first down at the moment. But, Flacco, I'll say this, Flacco does look sharp, probably because he's scared to death for his job. Everyone's rooting for him to tank out so they can see Lamar Jackson, but Flacco today, he has something like, he has 3 TDs. I mean, Flacco's slinging it right now. But really, I mean, what on that team excites you? You got Flacco, Alex Collins, some retread receivers. You have a defense that is, potentially okay. The secondary could be good. You still have Weddle, Jimmy Smith, and whatnot back there. Marlon Humphrey, decent player. I mean, Suggs is ageless. You got C.J. Mosley there. I mean, you could be okay on defense, but, there's nothing really to hang your hat on right now for the Ravens. They just have a very 500-ish look to them. Wow, James Conner rips off another run. Good for him. You go, young fella. So, anyhow, now we're on to the AFC West. In the AFC West, I am, despite the way they're cursed with injuries, I am all in on the Chargers. My Phillip Rivers fanboyism is going to kick in there, and I'm going to pick the Chargers in the AFC West, followed by the Chiefs. My gut tells me Mahomes will be fine. Andy Reid knows what he's doing when he's bringing along quarterbacks. Only thing that concerns me about, well, there's a couple of things that concerns me about the Chiefs. One is that their defense is going to be a freaking sieve. And two, toward the end of the year, people started to clamp down a little bit on them on defense and figure out how to limit getting all those speed guys into space. And when they should have been falling back to getting Kareem Hunt involved, they did what Andy Reid teams tend to do. They got overly pass happy still, put the game on Alex Smith, and Alex Smith couldn't do enough to carry them home. And what I'm certain they're banking on is that they can develop Mahomes since he's more physically talented than Alex. They can develop him to the point where they can stretch the field and be a little bit more dynamic in that regard. But I think defensively they're going to have some problems. But I think they're good enough still to be second in that division and be in wild card contention throughout the year as a result. Broncos, I think Case Keenum's going to come back to earth a little bit. I get what Denver's thinking. Their quarterback situation has been so bad recently that they think if they can just get a guy who's okay, they have enough around still to still make another run. And really, the Denver Broncos, they do have some talent there still. You have Demarius. I can't stand Demarius Thomas. I think he's the most overrated receiver on the planet. But he's, not a bum. Emmanuel Sanders, you still have him there. Royce Freeman out of Oregon, who I thought would be a good pro, looks like he's going to be a solid player. On defense, you bring in Bradley Chubb opposite Von Miller. You still got Brandon Marshall there. Corners, you got Roby and Chris Harris. You got Derek Wolfe up front. Not a bad squad, but I just think Keenum is going to come back down to earth. I think he caught lightning in a bottle, and I think that he's going to regress some. I don't think they're going to get what they saw in Minnesota. I thought that was a sun, moon, and the stars aligning type of year. And the Bucks score again. It is 41-24. Good Lord. Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, the Bucks have weapons on offense. If you get a quarterback that can use his brain and run the system, they can put up some points. You can do a lot worse than having Deshaun Jackson, O.J. Howard, and Mike Evans to throw to. My goodness. But anyway, all right, so that pretty much covers the AFC. I'm not going to even acknowledge the Raiders. That the Raiders are going to be hot garbage, and it's all their own fault. And there you go. So anyway, playoff teams in the AFC. I am going to go with New England, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Los Angeles, and the two wild cards. The two wild cards, we're going to go with Tennessee and the Chiefs. And I've been picking Pittsburgh every year to come out of the AFC. So I figure one of these years they're just going to not screw it up again. And I'll do it one more time. This is the last time I'm doing it. So I'm going to pick Pittsburgh to come out of the AFC. So now on to the NFC. The NFC, I think, is just loaded. I think you can make a case that the top 3 or 4 teams in the league are all in the NFC. I really believe that. But only one of them can come out and get to the Super Bowl. So who will it be? We'll start in the East, where your reigning Super Bowl champion Eagles reside. And from what I saw week 1, I see the same Eagles team defensively, blessed with a great defensive line. Secondary plays well. Backers play well. They got it going on there, no doubt about it. Offensively, they're going to get better as the season goes on, as Wentz gets back into the fold. They have a lot of good running backs, and the receivers are good. I like Aguilar. Alshon Jeffrey. Alshon Jeffrey is probably a little bit underrated now. People kind of forget how good that man can be. Tight ends are good. Line is good. They got a complete team. They are clearly the best team in that division. The question I have is I wonder if the NFC East has a second playoff team in it, and I'm not sure. Like I mentioned in part 1, the Giants think they're good, and I don't think that they're right. I think they have a lot of the same problems they had a year ago. Offensive line's a little bit better. They brought in Nate Solder, and they drafted the, what's his name? His name escapes me right now. The kid from UTEP. But anyhow, I mean, Saquon Barkley will help a little bit, but I just don't see it overall. I don't think the line will help enough. I think Eli is a guy who's very skittish against pressure now, and you got a turnstile there at right tackle. I don't think the D will be able to cover well enough consistently. Olivier Vernon being hurt early is going to be a problem. I think the Giants are, you know, a average football team at best. Dallas, I feel like, is in the same boat, but maybe slightly better. But even then, their line is not healthy right now. I think their defense is stronger than it has been in recent years. They have no receivers whatsoever, so there's questions there. And the Skins, I mean, we always hear that preseason doesn't matter much, but it's got to matter a little bit. Alex Smith has not looked good all preseason at all. And I think guys going down as a killer. You have old man Adrian Peterson there now with Samaj P. Ryan and Chris Thompson. I mean, nothing's going to really scare you there. Jordan Reed stays in one piece. You got a chance. Paul Richardson is interesting. I like Paul Richardson. I think he can be good. He's certainly going to get the chance to show that he's good. But he's got talent. I mean, there's talent there with Paul Richardson. There always has been. No question about it. Josh Doxson, he doesn't really scare you. So really, it's just a matter of whether Jordan Reed can stay in one piece. Alex Smith can deliver. You know, Jamison Crowder's a good receiver as well. He's solid. And if Paul Richardson can blossom. Defensively, they're kind of weird to me. You'd think they'd be better, you know, stat-wise than they are because they got some players. Preston Brown and Ryan Kerrigan aren't bad. Those are two nice pass rushers. You can cover a little bit. You got Josh Norman still there. Trading away Fuller was just weird to me. But, you know, they got some players there. You would think they'd be better. But really, how much different are the Redskins, Cowboys, and Giants are, you know, from each other? I don't think they're very different at all. I mean, you can flip a coin between any of them to finish, you know, second, third, fourth in that division. And the order wouldn't surprise me either way. Now we go to the NFC South. And that brings us to the Atlanta Falcons, the team that seems destined to have squandered their best chance to win a Super Bowl, and has slowly but surely digressed ever since. We were hoping, if you're a Falcon fan and also just a fan of seeing a good team competently run, we were hoping to see that last year's problems were corrected, and the early returns so far show that the exact same problems are still rearing their head. You can tell me all you want that the Eagles match up very well against them, but the problem with that game is that it was, wow, Emmanuel Sanders, my goodness. My favorite receiver in the entire league, most underrated receiver in the entire league. But anyway, I think the Falcons' window is done. I really do, because you can say all you want that the Eagles match up well against them and all that, but the thing that bothers you is that that game played out the exact same way with the same problems. They have too much talent to be that bad inside the red zone, that sporadic with their play calling. Matt Ryan has too much talent on that team to be locking into Julio Jones in double coverage. Defensively, they're playing very well. They're playing more than well enough when you consider the talent they have on offense. But you have these issues where you have a team with two good backs, and yeah, you know, we say all the time, it's a throwing league, it's a throwing league, it's a throwing league. But you still got to be able to run when you have to run it, and also to keep some semblance of balance, not necessarily run-pass ratio, but making sure your best players are getting their hands on the damn ball. And they have one of the best running back tandems in the league, and they're not using them enough. Where the hell is Mohamed Sanu? He's vanished. Where was Calvin Ridley? Where was Calvin Ridley? Was he even on the field? I mean, the question that we ask is, are these problems correctable? Theoretically, yes, they are, but they've been going on now. They were going on all last season. You saw it again week one. You got to wonder if they're ever going to get corrected with, you know, the combination of Sarkisian calling the plays and Matt Ryan pulling the trigger, and Dan Quinn seemingly content to have, you know, Sark pretty much act autonomously. I don't think Dan Quinn is very hands-on with his assistants. I think he just lets them do what they do. At some point, as the head coach, you got to be able to get in your assistant's ear and tell them what is what. I still think they're good enough to edge out the Saints as the best team in the division. But when you look at getting out of the NFC again and having a shot at redeeming the Super Bowl that got away, when you factor in you got Philly, you got the Rams, you got Green Bay if Rodgers is healthy, and you have the Vikings out there, it's going to be tough on them if they don't get this sorted out and get it sorted out quick. If they don't, New Orleans can certainly win the division. I mean, they run the ball well. They'll always throw it well as long as Drew Brees is there, and he has Mike Thomas, who's as good as anybody in the league. The defense is the top 10 in the league as far as scoring defense went last year, and Marshawn Lattimore keeps on getting better. They can rush the passer. They're a good, balanced team. The shootout with the Bucks aside, of course. I mean, not good timing as far as the upload goes, but it's a week-to-week league. Stuff like that can happen. And really, when you look at the Bucks have offensive talent. Between Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson, you got as good as you can want outside. O.J. Howard averaged something like 18 yards of reception last year, barely knowing what he was doing. They do need to run the ball a bit better, and they never stop anybody. I mean, their defense has been atrocious for a while now. They never cover anyone. Chris Conti is still back there starting at free safety for crying out loud. You got a couple of studs in Gerald McCoy and Levante David who've been there for a few years now, but they haven't really gotten much help. They brought in some guys. They brought in JPP. They drafted Vita Veje, who should help. But you say all that, and they get rung up for 40 points. They needed every bit of the 48 points that they scored today to beat New Orleans. And, that's the Saints. They're potent as well, but you gotta stop somebody, Tampa, consistently, or they're going to be just a team that has some flashy skill position players here and there that can't, do anything serious. And as far as the Panthers go, I don't have a good feel for them. They did draft a receiver for Cam finally, DJ Moore. Looks like he might be decent, but I don't like their line. I don't like the North Turner Cam Newton fit. What I really want him to do, I really want him to spread the dang field to get Christian McCaffrey into space and, let Cam basically operate like Jared Goff does in LA. I think that's what Cam needs to be. And get McCaffrey, Olsen, Moore, Funches into space and make things happen. Defensively, your front seven is good, but your secondary is a burn unit, and all that adds up to a 7-9, 8-8 team as far as I can tell. NFC North, I love the Vikings. I think the Vikings are loaded. I think they have everything. O-line it may be a little bit shaky. That's been a problem for Minnesota the past couple of years. Other than that, and it's a big other than that, of course. But all things being equal, you're not going to have everything in NFL. You're going to have some deficiencies somewhere. They were obviously able to work with it last year to an extent, but I think defensively they're more than good enough. Arguably the best defense in the league, either them or Jacksonville. And I believe Keenum will do very well there. I think the division as a whole is very strong. I think Green Bay is going to be right in the mix as well. The Lions aren't a bad team either. I think the Bears are going to be the most improved team in the NFC. Really tough division, but I think the Vikes are going to be the best team there when it's all said and done. And in the NFC West, I think it's the Rams, who are, I think, a smidge below the Eagles and the Vikings, but not much. If any of those teams drop off, or if there's any injuries, they can certainly vault above them, and then a bunch of teams fighting out for 8-8. So in the NFC, my playoff teams are going to be the Rams, the Vikings, the Saints, the Eagles. My wild card teams are going to be the Packers. I'm going to still have Atlanta squeaking into the playoffs as my sixth team. I think the Vikes are coming out of the NFC, and they are my pick to win the Super Bowl. My league MVP is going to be Aaron Rodgers. My offensive player of the year is going to be Alvin Kamara. Defensive player of the year, Harrison Smith. Offensive rookie of the year, Sam Darnold. Defensive rookie of the year, I will go with Roquan Smith, and my Super Bowl is going to be Vikings over the Steelers. So there you go. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and your opinions. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will talk to you all later. Peace.
So that'll do it for Charles Davis, the rest of our crew. I'm Brandon Gaudin. This has been a presentation of Madden Ultimate Team on EA Sports. For more, log on to EA